What's happening? It's Brett Klika with SPIDERfitKids.com. Welcome. Today we're going to talk about some things that you can do as a coach. You might not have access to a gym, or you're a fitness professional and you're going out to fields. I want to give you some simple ways that you can and guidelines to improve strength with your athletes right there in the field. When I'm talking about your athletes, I'm talking about your 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds. Things we can do right in the field. Before we really get started today, everything we're going to talk about today, our most recent blog at www.SPIDERfitKids.com covers this in even more detail. We give you all kinds of video ideas. I'm going to talk about some of the exercises. There we'll give you video for the exercises. And also today is the last day for the coaches, the special coaches bundle we put together. It's a Play for Athletic Performance Coaches Bundle. We got the Powerful Playground and 60 Ways to Play. We're giving away 60 Ways to Play for free when you become a member of the Powerful Playground. That is done today, so make sure to go to thepowerfulplayground.com. But let's talk about strength, because at the end of the day, when it comes to sports, most people want to talk about speed. And it's always, how do I help my kid get faster? How do I help my young athletes get faster? And quite frankly, if we want athletes to get from point A to point B faster, then there's a couple things we have to do. For one, we have to get the movement precision down. We have to get the technique, essentially. So if we're learning how to run, they got to learn how to use their arms. They got to learn how to use their hips. They need to learn body lean. Those are all things they need to practice and learn. So that's definitely a big part of it. But another part of it is when their foot hits the ground, there's a force impulse. So if I'm running, remember, running is gravity's raining down on me all the time. So if I want to run fast, that means that I have to push myself up against gravity, jump from one leg to the other, essentially hop from one leg to the other. That's what running is. I'm hopping from one leg to the other as gravity pushes me down at the ground. So one of the big limiting factors is gravity. So if we think about that, and a lot of coaches are spending all the time, well, they're going to get faster by using this speed equipment and blah, 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 and they're working with like 7 and 8-year-olds. Realize to help 7 and 8-year-olds fight gravity, because that's going to be their biggest menace when it comes to getting faster, is to help them improve their strength to weight ratio. So we can really help them do that. If we want our younger children to get faster, one of the best ways to do it is to help them get stronger. I had this described to me. I've seen Dan John, who's a very popular presenter within the fitness industry. I've heard Mike Boyle say, one of my mentors. They talked about how strength is essentially the bowl that you can fit speed into. So if you think you can pour speed into, so this would be strength. So strength sets that foundation. Strength allows kids to move their body against gravity as they hop from one foot to the other really fast. If that gravity weighs down on them, they try to hop from one foot to the other. They can't move very far. Also, you talk about technique. Well, strength of the hip flexors to get the hips to where it needs to go. Being able to move the body the way it needs to go. There's certain elements of strength that go with that. Actually, all through an athlete's career. So think of strength as the bowl in which we could pour speed. So now we realize, okay, if I'm working with a team of 6th graders or 7th graders or 8-year-olds, and I want them to help them become more athletic, and one of the first things I can do is help them deal with that strength to weight ratio. So you look and see, well, what do the guidelines say? How do I know if it's safe? Well, if you look at any research, you look at the National Academy of Sports Medicine, look at National Strength and Conditioning Association, look at the American College of Sports Medicine, and the Pediatric Alliance for Kids. You look at all these different things. The research on resistance training, on getting kids stronger, shows that it helps kids become more athletic. They prevent injury. They have a greater self-image. They're more confident when they do physical skills. So it's nothing but an advantage. And you only need about 10 minutes of practice time to do it. So I think of at the beginning of practice, we work on all the technique. We're doing things like that during our warm-up, technique for running or swimming or whatever you're working on. And then at the end, we work on this problem of gravity trying to hold kids to the ground. So we work on this problem of strength. So the general guidelines are anywhere from about 8 to 12 exercises. I tend to lean on the 8 side because I know what the time constraints are. And each exercise, we want to do something where they're getting to at least 8 repetitions. It's not so hard they can't get to 8 repetitions. If it is, we can modify the exercise. But if they can do more than 15, finding ways to make it more challenging. And again, when it comes to time, if you're a coach that does time, we're looking at about 20 to 40 seconds. If you're having kids hold things for a minute, I would question the validity of that. What is that actually doing? So find ways to challenge them in those little increments. So what should we do? Because if you show up, a lot of people, I show up to a practice, a lot of coaches will say, oh, well, I'm getting my kids stronger, we're doing push-ups every day, and that's good. But I challenge you to think about the whole body as the inner working system. Believe it or not, with young kids particularly, if their upper body gets stronger, it's part of getting them faster. The upper body, motion of the upper body accounts for a percentage of acceleration. So you realize, well, yeah, I need to get their upper body, get everything stronger, and you're going to give them a better opportunity to be athletically confident. So look at the different parts of the body. Well, we got our upper body. We can go to push-ups. Absolutely. But we define that, well, push-ups, what can my upper body do? Well, the biggest muscles are going to push things, and they're going to pull things. Yeah, there's all kinds of other things we can do. But think about exercises that push, exercises that pull. So push-ups, we got our whole push-up progression. We got push-ups, even planks, holding that push-up position. We'll talk about that in just a second. Anything, they could be throwing med balls, whatever it is. What are they pushing? And then how can we create a pull? So how can we get them to pull things towards them? This becomes more challenging because pulling things towards us usually involves some sort of equipment, some sort of pulley. But what we found is we can get the same relatively similar result with little kids. We can accomplish a similar goal that pulling would by just getting them to do extension exercises, moving their hands away from their midline, lying on their stomach, swimming with their arms, doing things that get them out of this position and open up the other side of their body. So we got pushes, we got pulls. Then we move to the lower body, and everyone knows the lunges and squats and all those. And those are awesome. Those are very good quad dominant exercises. Anytime your knee is bending to about 90 degrees or below, we're really working on our quads. And the quads are the muscles in front of the legs. Most athletes, as they age, though, become really quad dominant, which means that the quads get very, very strong because they've been squatting, because they've been lunging. But the other side has gotten weak. So the other side, what's on the other side of the leg? Well, we've got our hamstrings, we've got our glutes, and things like that. So we spend all our time squatting and lunging. Yes, we do get to the glutes, but their quads take over. The problem with this imbalance, it can create some problems around the knee, it can create some other things. So every time we do a squat or a lunge, we want to do it doing a hip dominant exercise. This is something where we actually get their hips involved, where their hips are hinging forward and back. This could be things like deadlift. If you don't have things at the field, that's fine. But even looking at lying on your back, doing hip raises, hip holds, sitting down on the ground, raising it up like a crab. We have all these on our website. You have access to all these different things. So that gets the other side of the legs. So we got front and back of the legs. And I know what you're asking. You're asking, what about the core? Now, realize that the core is a relationship of muscles. It's not a muscle. Just because you're doing sit-ups doesn't mean you're doing the core. But if you look at the core, essentially, really what it is you take the arms off at the elbows and the legs off at the knees, and what's left is kind of your core. That whole system on the front side and the back side has to work together to stabilize, keep your spine upright. That's what your core is. So you think about, well, what is the limiting factor with kids and keeping their spine upright? Well, most of the time, it's not trying to get the muscles in the front doing crunches. Those are good. We should do those. But think about how are kids spending their time, like most of adults, at a desk, now looking at their devices. They're sitting hunched over. The more core exercises we can do for the lower and upper back, where they're lying on their stomach, they're moving their body away from the ground. It's called extension. The more things we can do like that, we are actually helping them increase their performance because we're helping their posture. Posture is a very important part about speed. So all those different things are important. It's just recognizing where we got upper body, push and pull, lower body, quad dominant, hip dominant. And finally, when it gets to our core, there's things for the front of our body, but we should try to emphasize the things in the back of our body. So we put all those together, choose a couple exercises, total of about 8 to 10 exercises. You can either time them, put them in a circuit. The kids go through the circuit a couple times. It takes about 10 minutes. No equipment needed for any of this. Now, when it comes to actually executing it, first thing, don't be afraid to do static versions of anything. I see teams show up and everybody do 20 push-ups and the kids are burying their face in the ground, butts up in the air. That's a problem. Don't forget static. Have kids hold a push-up position until they can all get their spine parallel to the ground. Have them hold a push-up position until they all can be lined up. Have them hold a lunge until their back knee gets a certain degree from the ground. Have them hold a squat with their face near a wall so they can learn how to situate their body. Don't be afraid of static. where coaches often get derailed when it comes to developing things like strength or speed is they think, okay, I got 3 months with this athlete or however much time, I have that much time to build strength, period, like strength for the rest of their life. A more advanced coach working with kids thinks more like, what will this do for them in a year? What I'm teaching them now, what will them do that for them next year when they're maybe with me or with a different coach? Can I give them skills that then the next coach can build on? Don't try to conquer Rome in a day, because I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to be frustrated, your kid's going to be frustrated. Start to develop a mentality of what I'm doing today, how could this help the coach next year? Because kids slowly acquire skills. Even kids that don't execute correctly immediately, what does happen is it goes into the memory bank, and all of a sudden on down the line it comes back. That's why it's worth it to take time to do this. Number 2, focus on proper execution, not prolonged exertion. Proper execution over prolonged exertion. Here's what I mean by that. For one, we have to worry about time economy. And another thing we have to worry about, well, I'm actually teaching something. I've seen a lot of coaches, okay, we're going to hold a plank until the last person falls down. So they're holding a 5-minute plank. Cool, they can hold a 5-minute plank. So what? We could have used that 5 minutes to get the rest of their body stronger, or to do some other aspect of strength. So don't just think about what's going to make them fall over from being so hard. Think about, am I teaching them the right things so that that coach that gets them next year, or that whoever gets them next year, builds on it. I can't take a child from barely moving well to blazing unbelievable athleticism in 3 months. I can't do that. Anyone says they can is a quack. But what we can do is we can help them build skills so they can just keep building and building and building. Another thing that we can do is as we're doing this with the team, make it fun. Are there certain benchmarks? Can you, anyone who can do 5 perfect push-ups, or anyone that can take 30 seconds to do 5 push-ups, they're doing it very slow and controlled. Think about what type of bars or incentives could reinforce proper execution versus just whoever can do 100 push-ups and they're bouncing their hips up and down or something like that. Do you got bracelets? Do you got some sort of thing you can offer if they get to these different things? Again, this is about 10 minutes of your practice time, and this is going to help them not only in your sport, but every other sport. Just learning these basic fundamentals, it's worth the 10 minutes. So consider those things. Again, go to our blog at www.spiderfitkids.com. We list out different exercises we recommend with no equipment. You can do right there in the field. But recognize how important strength is. It plays a huge role in helping kids become more confident. Not just faster, not just jump higher, not just more athletic, but just more confident during physical activity. So give those a try, balance out those young bodies and minds. Had fun with it. Thanks for your help in helping us create a future of happy, healthy, active young athletes. We'll see you soon.